Very nice. Now that I know how to grip it, that's it. Hello. We're back today to talk about a weapon that's perhaps a little less historic than usual, with this Chiappa Rhino 60DS revolver. But before we take a look at this rather unusual looking revolver, I'd like to say a big thank you to the TP patrons who enable me to continue my work, so please join them if you can, of course. I'm very happy to have access to a Chiappa because it's a revolver that has always intrigued me, and I wanted to try it out for several reasons. The first is that I like its futuristic look, and the other is its mechanism. Because as you can see, the barrel is underneath, and that's supposed to facilitate recoil management, so that's what you're going to see when I will use it. So I'm quite curious to see how well it works, and also with this mechanism, which is a bit different, I'm quite curious to see the quality of the trigger in double and single action, and again we'll see when I shoot it. This revolver is fairly recent, having been designed in 2008 by Antonio Cudazzo and Emilio Ghisoni. Emilio Ghisoni, who had designed the Mateba revolvers, some of which also had the barrel positioned below. And some Mateba revolvers were even semi-automatic, but that's a story for another time, I hope. The Chiappa company began marketing its revolvers from 2010, with different versions, calibers and barrel lengths. And in our case we have a revolver with a 6-inch barrel in .357 Magnum. In fact, let's take a closer look to see just how original this revolver is. In addition to the barrel, which is positioned underneath, our cylinder is also shaped differently. Not cylindrical, but hexagonal. And as you can see, we also have a different button from Smith & Wesson or Colt to release it. You have a lever, you press it, and you can the cylinder out. In terms of dimensions, this revolver with a 6-inch barrel is 27 centimeters long and weighs around 950 grams unloaded. You can see above of the revolver a red dot, and this red dot is not going to be a loading indicator, but it is going to be an indicator that the gun is in single action. In fact, the piece on top is not really the hammer, or it's an external hammer, because the real hammer is inside. It's at the bottom in this area, but I'll show it with a 3-dimensional cut. And when fired, it won't move. So here we can see that the weapon is in single action, but this part is not at the rear. And in double action you can see that my cylinder rotates, the internal hammer will move backwards, but this part remains fixed. As for the sights, on this model we have fiber optics for the front sight and rear sight, which are adjustable in elevation and windage. There are also Picatinny rails above for a red dot, and underneath if you want to install a lamp or laser, for example. Mechanically, the Rhino is a double action and single action revolver, but its hammer is internal. The part above will cock the hammer, which is not visible. As you can see, when you pull the trigger in double action, the cylinder rotates and the hammer, which is this part, recoils and strikes the firing pin here. If you want to fire in single action, you have a lever connected to the internal hammer that will position it backwards, held by the trigger here. The advantage of having the barrel in line with the lowest chamber of the barrel is to bring the recoil axis closer to the shooter's hand, making the shot more controllable, as the gun is less likely to rise. Let's try out the Chiappa Rhino 60DS. Let's see how moderate the recoil is in practice. Is moderate, because the lower barrel should make recoil more manageable. In fact, we're shooting with and you'll be able to see that the external hammer doesn't move. I switch to single action, and my single action indicator, out. I'm careful that my thumb isn't in front of the bottom chamber, and we give it a try. Indeed, you can feel the revolver recoils towards me, but I don't know if the camera will catch it, but the revolver does not rise a lot, but at any rate, in terms of feel, it's clearly not the same as with other more traditional revolvers I've tried. Let's try a double action. The trigger is nice, especially in single action. In double action, it's hard, but it's pretty decent. It may not be as good as on the MR73, for example, but it's totally manageable. We're going to eject them. We've got all 6. It's really a different experience from other revolvers. It doesn't rise, but it pushes back. And the wooden grip, I must admit I'd rather have a rubber stock. Here, the wood pushes against my thumb. The grip is relatively short. I have medium-sized hands, so there's no problem. I can understand if you have really big hands. The little finger that wanders. It's very nice. I would like to try it with a rubber grip, perhaps to better absorb the rearward recoil of the revolver, but it's intriguing. It's not just theoretical, the fact that the lower barrel axis can reduce recoil. The Chiappa Rhino 60DS is quite an intriguing revolver, and a welcome change from the ergonomics and aesthetics of traditional revolvers. I'm very happy to have finally been able to try one out. However, I can understand whether you like the aesthetics or not. Personally, I like the futuristic look. Feel free to say what you think in the comments. In any case, I hope this video has enabled you to find out more about this Italian revolver. As always, I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and if you wish, to support my work through the TP in the description. See you soon for a new video.